Hey guys, I'm Erin and welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing a spring plus February book haul. So in my last book haul was also kind of a winter book haul, and so I kind of decided to switch to seasonal book hauls. And so when I sat down to do my spring, March through May, I went to double check what the last book I hauled was and realized I didn't include February in my winter book haul. So this is the spring plus February. And it's quite a few more than I had maybe anticipated doing in one haul. But yeah, here we go. So, I'm gonna do this just by category as far as where/how I acquired each of these. And so my first category is ebooks, because if I don't do them first, I will forget because they're not in a stack next to me to look at. So I have 3 ebooks that I got in the spring, and the first one is A Matter of Class by Mary Balogh. This is a historical romance novella, and it is about Reginald, whose family is rich but not titled, and thus society still kind of looks down on them. And then his dad sees the opportunity to elevate their status because the neighboring earl's daughter has run into some disgrace, and so he sees the opportunity to marry off his Reginald to the neighbor, and that will title Reginald, and also the neighbor, since the daughter's disgraced, the neighbor will have to accept the proposal because no one else will propose to her, and they're kind of also like family rivals, so he's kind of doing it as like a revenge, like, haha, you have to marry me, my son, because no one else will have your daughter. So anyways, I have read this book already actually, so yay, and you'll hear more about my thoughts on this one in my main wrap-up. Next is A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. Mostly all I know about this one is it's an adult fantasy romance retelling of Hades and Persephone, and that's literally it. I don't know at all what way it's retold, if it's even really actually a fantasy or like retold in contemporary. I think it is still a fantasy. The covers give fantasy setting vibes still, but I don't know anything else about it. I just like have heard its name floating around as like a hyped series, and then it was like super cheap on ebook deals one day, so I was like, let's do it. And the last ebook I got is Regarding the Duke by Grace Callaway, another historical romance book. This is blurbed as like tagline is she married him for love, he married her for money, and then I know it's an amnesia trope on top of that. So he loses his memory and he married her for money, but now as he's like trying to regain his memories, he starts actually falling for her, kind of deal. So I don't think I've ever read an amnesia trope romance, and I'm intrigued. All right, now onto the physical book. So my first category is Book of the Month books, and as I think I've said before, the way I do my Book of the Month books is sometimes they'll have choices that are like releases I've anticipated, but if they don't have any I've anticipated and it's a book I just hadn't heard of, I won't read up anything about the book other than the 1-sentence blurb that Book of the Month has on their website. So several of these I had not heard of before, so I'm just going to read that 1-sentence blurb, and I don't know anything else about them. No reviews, no nothing. So I think it's been fun to do it that way, so I'm just going to keep doing that way. So first up is the only one of these that there's 2 of these I had heard of before I picked them. So anyways, the first is I Must Betray You by Ruta Sepetys. This is a young adult historical fiction that takes place in the months leading up to the Romanian Revolution in 1989, I think is the year? Yeah, 1989. So I have also already read this. I love this book. I believe I read it in February or March. Some one of those wrap-ups. But yeah, so this was one I had heard of prior, because I've read Ruta Sepetys before, and yeah. Next up is A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. This is blurbed as unexplained disappearances draw a reluctant hero back to his island home to confront spirits in this spellbinding tale. So I have not heard anything else about this except like the general impressions of people who've read it, and so far people I see on Discord who have read it have really liked it. So I'm definitely excited to pick it up and actually find out what it's about. And I know there's a sequel coming out to this one, I think at the end of this year. So it's one of those quick boom published duologies, which is nice. Next is The Verifiers by Jane Pek. This is tagged as literary fiction on Book of the Month's website, and its quick take is family drama, dating app woes, and artificial intelligence, oh my. This witty debut novel has something for everyone. So literary fiction is definitely not my normal speed, but this one kind of, I don't know, the blurb stuck out to me, and I don't remember what the other picks were that month, but none of them else called to me, so I thought I'd, take a chance. Take something that was like kind of out of my comfort zone, but still intriguing sounding. So I have not heard any impressions from anyone who's read this, so we'll see what it is, how it goes. Next is one that I've been hearing about a lot on BookTube, and that is Kaikeyi by Vaishnavi Patel. And this is Why Should Boys Have All the Fun? In this epic tale that pulls heartstrings, Kaikeyi fights for her place in history. And the only additional thing I knew about this book before picking it as my Book of the Month is it's based on, I think, Indian mythology? But I'm not familiar with any kind of Indian mythology or tales, so that didn't really tell me personally anything, but I've been hearing mostly good things so far of the impressions I've seen, and I'm, yeah, definitely excited to pick this one up. Next, I have Darling Girl by Liz Michalski, and this is Revealing Dreams as Nightmares. This gripping Peter Pan rewrite reveals a complicated story of fate and fortune. And so, as far as like how well it goes when I only read this one sentence blurb and do no other research, this is the one I think might be the most risky, like even more than the literary fiction one, because I don't know anything else about it, but my husband did pick it up after I got him reading the flap, and he said there was something in the flap that makes him think I won't like it, but he didn't tell me what that was, because I didn't want him to. I was like, don't tell me, I still don't want to know anything, so we'll see if he's right. And then my last book of the month book is The Hacienda by Isabel Canas, I think that's how you say it. This is, what would you do if the house you just moved into turned out to be haunted? We're talking some properly gothic stuff. So I've also seen this like blurb, yeah, and like the little top blurb before you get to the actual synopsis. I've heard it called like a mix between Mexican Gothic and Rebecca, which in theory sounds good, but those are both books I gave 3 stars to, so we'll see how that plays out in reality. Next is my stack of new books I bought, mostly at Barnes & Noble, and then one from an independent bookstore near me. So first we have The Lady Timpson Air by Harper St. George. This is the 3rd book in the Gilded Age Heiresses historical romance series, and I've also already read this, and you'll hear my thoughts about it in my May wrap-up, but this is one of my favorite historical romance series, and this is the newest release, and it follows a fake courtship trope story following a widow who needs the appearance of having a husband to help legitimize her school or home for women, like because she's unmarried, people look down on it and don't want to donate to it anymore. And then our male hero needs a courtship to placate his father, who has started to tell him he needs to get married, and he's hoping to just kind of like wait him out. Next, I got last night The Telegraph Club by Malinda Lowe, and you can see I got it from Barnes & Noble because I definitely haven't taken the stickers off yet. So what I know about this one is it's a YA historical taking place in, I think, the 50s in California maybe, and I know, okay, let's see. Okay, and it takes place around the Telegraph Club, which is a lesbian bar in a time in which that was like not accepted or maybe not even legal. And I've heard really good things, so I saw it for buy one get one, and I was like, yeah, let's do it. And the other half of that buy one get one sale is Winter's Orbit by Everina Maxwell. This is one I've been wanting to read for a while now. I've heard really good things about it. It's a standalone sci-fi romance about a prince, I think, and who gets kind of forced into a political marriage with like an ambassador or politician from like a neighboring planet or empire. And there's some kind of like conspiracy political stuff going around them, and it's also kind of about both of those. Yeah, I'm really excited to get to this. I also adore this cover so much. It's so pretty, and her newest book that's coming out this year also has an equally stunning cover. So good. Okay, and then next I have The Empire of Gold by S.A. Chakraborty. This is the last book in the David Bond trilogy. I read the first and second one both last year, and I'm excited to finish up the series and get to this one. It's really, really big, so I just like don't ever reach for it because it's so big, and I'm in the middle of some other big books right now. But yeah, hopefully once I finish the Chorus of Dragons series, which are chonkers, maybe I'll pick this one up as my next like big chonker. But yeah, looking forward to this one. Also, I love green and gold as a color combination, so I'm in love with this cover too. Okay, and the last new book I got is The Discord of Gods by Jen Lyons. I got this one also signed, which was very exciting. Jen Lyons lives in the same city I do, and so I was able to go to her book signing and launch event when this book came out and get it signed, which was really, really fun. It's the first time I've been to an author signing event in person ever outside of Dragon Con, which going to an author signing at Dragon Con is just like totally different than going to like an actual like standalone author signing, because at Dragon Con you just like line up and they just sign and you go, right? This was like an actual whole like hour-long like Q&A. She like read part of the book, kind of like talking event, and then she ended with signing it, and it was really fun. So yeah, I would definitely 100% go back to more author events at this place because it was a really good time. And yeah, I'm glad I had this. Excited to have it signed and excited to finish the series up. Okay, the next category is 3 books I ordered online from the thrift store, and the first 2 are part of the same series. That's Child of the Prophecy and Son of Shadows by Juliet. I think this one's the second one and this is the third one, I think. These are the second and third book in the Seven Water trilogy, which started with Daughter of the Forest. I really quite enjoyed Daughter of the Forest. I read it back in January, so I went ahead and picked these up. I am a little nervous because so far I've heard some pretty polarizing things about the second one from couple YouTubers who are doing kind of like a whole series read along, and some people have liked it, but some people have like really hated it. Like the extent to which the negative opinions are negative is like making me a little nervous about it. But yeah, I have both, so I'm gonna read them sometime. And then also from Thrift Books, I got The Mortal Word by Genevieve Cogman. This is the fifth book in the Invisible Library series. That's just kind of like a fun, episodic, magical librarian going around her world saving magical artifact books. And it's got some like world jumping, and it's just like a fun little short little series to like throw in every now and then. So got the next one I have on hand the next time I'm in the mood. This is also my favorite cover so far, and also I believe they go to an alternate Paris in this one, and I love Paris, so definitely looking forward to this one. Okay, next I have 3 books that I got at a library book sale. My local branch of my county library has like a Friends of the Library organization that does a yearly, they like collect used books, and they have like a little mini store inside the library that's like open all year round. That's kind of just like a honor system pay, but once a year they have a huge sale of like their entire warehouse of books, and so I went to that and picked up 3 books. The first 2 are both historical romances, and they're both authors I've heard about as kind of like classic authors that I've never read from, and they had a bunch of each of these authors, so I just kind of chose which one of the ones I had sound the most interesting. I had not necessarily heard of these specific books before. The first is The Ideal Bribe by Stephanie Lawrence. This is about Michael, whose kind of future in Parliament is kind of set. He's like good to go, except he needs a wife, and so he has his eyes set on this gentle-bred lady. But as he's courting her, he comes across this the obstacle in his path to her is this lady's aunt, who's much more stubborn and doesn't want her niece to be stuck in a loveless marriage. But along the way, he ends up falling for the aunt instead. So this trope kind of sounds similar to the one I like so much in The Viscount Who Loved Me, which is man courts girl but ends up falling in love with girl's sister, but this time it's just an aunt. So close enough to that trope that I was intrigued, and so we're gonna try it. And then the other one is Kiss Me Annabelle by Eloisa James. This is about Annabelle, who wants a rich, English, and amiable husband, but she ends up being stuck in this carriage ride with the impoverished Scottish Earl, who has nothing but his gorgeous eyes, his brains, and his kisses to recommend him. So they get stuck on this carriage, and I kind of enjoy the road trip romance, and I've read it before in historical, and I enjoyed it. And they also, on the back of it, mentions sharing the same bed, and if I'm not a total sucker for a one-bed trope, so that line was really what clinched this as my choice from their Eloisa James collection. So, and then I also got one fantasy at that library sale, which is The Golden Key by Melanie Ron, Jennifer Robertson, and Kate Elliott. So I've literally never heard of this book before. I've heard of 2 of the 3 authors. I've heard of Melanie Ron and Kate Elliott before, but I've not heard of the 3rd one. Never heard of this book. But in my tentative TBR I did at the beginning of the year for one of my goals for reading more backlist female fantasy authors, I realized that my tentative TBR was very series heavy, which is fine in theory, but one of my other goals for the year is to decrease the number of open series I have, and those 2 goals kind of seemed at conflict with each other, like assuming I liked all those books on that TBR, which if I didn't like any of those backlist books, didn't matter, but I hope to like them. So I've been trying to find a couple standalones to maybe insert instead, and this is a standalone, and it was published within long enough ago to satisfy my pre-2000 requirement on my TBR. Yeah, 97. So I was like, let's do it. It is very long, but it's a standalone. So this one is about a world in which art is prized not just as art, but it's also held up as legally binding documents are done through art. And there's this one family who also can weave magic into the art, and I think it's kind of like a secret that they can do that, and it's about that. Sounds intriguing. My next stack is a stack of borrowed books from my mom and my mother-in-law. So first up, I have one from my mom, and that is The Golden Couple by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. My mom's a big mystery thriller reader, so I often borrow those from her, especially she also does Book of the Month. And so if there's a mystery or thriller month that sounds interesting, I'll be like, that's fine, Mom will get that one, and I'll get a different one, and then borrow it from her. So that's what we have here. I read another book by these authors that I enjoyed, so I thought I'd try their newest release, and all I know about it is it has something to do with a couple going to marriage counseling. And something happens with that. And it doesn't really sound like an interesting hook, I know, but I think there's some kind of domestic thriller slant to the marriage counseling, I suppose. We'll find out. And then next, my mother-in-law came and brought over a couple historical fiction books for me to borrow. I have only heard of, I think, 2 of these before she brought them over, because she just brought over like a stack of ones she'd read recently and was like, here. Because we've borrowed and loaned historical fiction before, so I don't actually know what all these are about though. So unfortunately, I will not be able to do a good job pitching them. But the first one is The Woman with the Blue Star by Pam Jenoff. This one takes place during World War II. That's kind of all I know about it. Let's see. World War II. Okay, a Jewish character living in one of the ghettos. Okay, a Jewish girl makes friends with an affluent Polish girl in Krakow. And I guess kind of their story as they grow close. Okay. Next one is They Went Left by Monica Hesse. This one's also World War II, about a girl whose family ended up at Auschwitz-Birkenau, and they get separated, and I think she's trying to, like, find her brother, although the back of the cover makes it seem like her brother died in the gas chambers. But anyway, so she ends up at this, like, post the Allies coming in and freeing all the concentration camps. She ends up at this displaced persons camp, and I think it's kind of about the stories of the people she meets there. Next is Fast Girls by Elise Hooper, a novel of the 1936 Women's Olympics team. Yeah, so I think this just follows 3 women on the track and field team during 1936. Next is Pam Jenoff's The Lost Girls of Paris. I think this one takes place about like right after World War II, or maybe during World War II. As you can tell, my mother-in-law really likes World War II books, so that's fine. I also enjoy World War II books, but about a ring of female spies from during the war, I think. And then the last one is What Did You Do in the War, Sister by Dennis J. Turner. And I think this one is about Catholic sisters and Catholic nuns in Belgium who were part of the resistance. So, okay, those are all those. And then I have one last stack. And that is books I got for my birthday. So my birthday was in the middle of May, and I got books because that's kind of all I asked for. So first up, I have 2 books that I've already read before, but I read them as ARCs and wanted to own copies because I love them. And the first is The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. I adored this book last year. It was one of my favorites of the year, and I'm very excited to finally have a physical copy, especially since the second one's coming out in a couple months, and I've pre-ordered it. So glad to have the first one before I actually acquire the second. And then the other one is Jade Legacy by Fonda Lee. I own the first 2 right behind me, and I read the third one as ARC, so definitely wanted to get the third one to round out my collection. And then as far as books I haven't read, first I got Sid Meier's memoir by the creator of Civilization from one of my friends. And so Sid Meier is the creator of the series of computer games called Civilization, or Civ. And so this friend and I, we have a ongoing weekly game of Civ 5 with a third friend, and that's kind of how we have kept in touch since post-college, as we play Civ with each other every week. So he thought it'd be fun to give me this is Sid Meier's memoir. And yeah, I think it looks kind of interesting, if I'm going to be honest. I like memoirs, so I think it'll be good. Someone on Discord read it and said it was pretty interesting, so I'm definitely looking forward to it. And then next I have one of my most anticipated, actually all 3 of these left were on my most anticipated releases of the year, so they were like the ones that had come out that I had not read or acquired yet by the time my birthday came around. And the first one is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. What is this one actually about, though? I just got it because it's an Emily Henry book. I think it's our girl character is an editor, and she ends up going to like a small town on like a little sisters retreat weekend, and ends up crossing paths with one of the her authors, or a fellow editor, I think, and they end up just crossing paths all weekend. A little small town kind of enemies to lovers romance, I think. Next, I have Hunt the Stars by Jessie B. Hollick. This is a sci-fi, I think, with a pretty, I don't know if it's like full sci-fi romance or just sci-fi with like a strong romantic element, but this is about a female bounty hunter who's kind of the head of her ship, captain of her ship, and her ship is kind of in disrepair. It needs repairs. She needs money to keep her crew alive, and she ends up getting this job offer from kind of her arch rival that she really doesn't want to take, but she kind of has to because she needs the money, and so she does, and he insists on coming along for the ride. And I believe this is the first in the series. I'm not sure if it's how long the series is supposed to be, but it definitely is the first in the series, not a standalone. So. And then, last but not least, I have Scorebooked Up by J.R. Michalski. This is the first in a new adult fantasy series. Again, I don't know how long the series is supposed to be, but this takes place in a world of 5 queendoms, and they've been queendoms for a long time. And unfortunately, they had this drought where in like the past generation, there's been no daughters born, and that's kind of throwing their whole system in a disarray. They're kind of not sure what to do. And so that's kind of all I know about it. I love this cover, and I'm excited for it. Okay, that was my spring plus February book haul. So if you've read any of these books, let me know what you thought of them and which ones I should read first, and I will see you in my next video.